Hello, welcome to Verbling. I am Teacher Oakley, and today we're going to have our third Toefl listening test class here on Verbling. And today we are going to focus in on listening to a lecture. We will start with a transcript so you can read along, you can follow along with the transcript, which I will screen share, and you can get a good idea of how this goes in a lecture. And then we'll practice the way the real test is with an actual audio test. So please get yourself a pencil and paper because you're going to want to be able to make notes as we continue so that you can answer the questions. Today, again, Toefl listening test practice with lectures. Welcome to the class, Diana.
Hi.
Hi. How are you? Uh-oh. What happened? Oh, dear. Come back, Diana. Hi, Diana.
Hi, my computer is my first time in an online class.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
No worries. I can hear you perfectly.
Okay.
No problem. If that happens, just come right back into the class. You're
Okay,
good.
thank you.
Where are you from, Diana?
And I'm from Peru.
Peru. Ah, excellent. Okay.
Yes.
Nice to have you here. Are you planning on taking a Toefl test in the future?
Yes, in the future I want to take the online test
Mm-hmm.
because I am planning to study a master abroad.
Excellent. Okay, very good. What is your field of study? What are you getting a master's in?
Um, I would like to study a marketing master in Europe. I don't know where, but
Okay.
I I were looking and I saw that most of the master in business are in English.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yes.
true. Right.
Yes.
Okay. Well, very nice to meet you, and we'll talk to you a bit later because we're going to practice this test. Hello, Jose Fernando. How are
Hi,
you?
teacher. Fine,
Hey,
thank you. And you?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you today?
What, teacher?
How are you today?
My day is
Okay.
normally
Just
working.
normal. Working?
Normal, yes.
Yeah, here you are at work, not working.
No working.
You
Oh,
know
yeah.
this? Tisk, tisk, tisk. You know this? Okay, that's nonverbal communication, not listening, but watching communication. Naughty, Jose. Okay, let's get
Okay.
started. All right, I'm going to do a screen share. We're going to walk through this listening to a lecture in Toefl. We're going to walk through this together. First of all, you're going to see screens and you're going to hear a narrator give you a clue about what you will be listening to. All right, so okay, you see the screen, biology. You'll hear a narrator say, "You're going to listen to a professor discuss the physical effects of smoking." Uh, okay, you may see other hints. Oh, nicotine, adrenaline. These may be keywords that you need to listen for. So take any clues that you can get. You will see a screen with a picture, something like this here. Again, clearly a professor standing in front of a whiteboard with possible other keywords, clues. These are all clues. You see ulcers, Looks like adrenaline, dopamine, chemical, stimulant. Okay, these are all clues. Get yourself thinking, anticipating, guessing, predicting what they're going to be talking about. The more you can predict, the easier it's going to be to interpret as you listen. So that's the first big strategy for listening. Okay, I am going to let you follow along here as I do the professor part and read the actual lecture. So you can actually follow along. Of course, in the real test, you will not be able to see the transcript. You will only hear the audio. Okay. But we're going to go take it easy to begin with today, and then we'll try an actual audio later. Hello, Joseph.
Hi, Oakley. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Nice to see you.
Oh, nice to see you.
All right. Thank you. But now I am not Oakley. I am Professor. For now. Okay, here we go. Okay. Okay. I know from having taught this class before that the topic I'm about to cover has the potential to get people's blood boiling. So I'd like to start off by making something clear. I'm going to discuss the physical effects of tobacco on the body. This is not the place for a debate over social issues. If you all want to get into it over lunch after class is over, you're welcome to. Just don't expect me to join in. Anyway, what we want to talk about is what happens to your body when you smoke or chew tobacco. The primary active ingredient in tobacco is one you're probably all familiar with, nicotine. Nicotine is a class of chemical called an alkaloid, meaning that it's a close relative of the caffeine in coffee and the natural drugs found in some plants. It generally has a stimulant effect. It gets your body systems going, makes them more active. It actually makes up a very small percent of the tobacco plant, about 5% by mass. Not much, right? Also, when you smoke tobacco, most of the nicotine burns away before you can even inhale it. That means that most of the nicotine in your cigarettes never gets to your lungs. It's not ingested. So between those two things, the low proportion of nicotine in the tobacco plant and the high proportion of the nicotine that's destroyed before you ingest it, you're not really getting a whole lot with each puff. Even so, the nicotine in cigarettes has a powerful effect on the body for a few reasons. For one thing, while some drugs pass through the body largely without being absorbed, nicotine inhaled into the lungs is absorbed almost completely. This is because the lungs have a lot of surface area that's usually used to exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide when you breathe. All that surface area provides lots and lots of places for nicotine to pass into the bloodstream. Then there's the fact that nicotine crosses the blood-brain barrier quickly. The blood-brain barrier is a sort of gatekeeping system in the bloodstream. It severely limits the ability of substances and organisms to pass from the blood into the brain. This helps keep the chemical environment of the brain stable, which it needs to function properly, and it also keeps the brain clean. You know, nasty infections can't get in, even if the rest of the body is sick fighting them off. Because nicotine is one of those chemicals that crosses the blood-brain barrier quickly, it affects the nervous system right from its command center. And it has two big effects. One is that it stimulates the production of the hormone adrenaline. More adrenaline means an increase in your heartbeat, your breathing, and possibly even cognition. That is, the thinking and perceiving nerves in your brain. That would help, right? To explain why people report feeling energized and sharper, more aware after smoking a cigarette. Their breathing and heart rates are jazzed up, and their thinking nerves are too. Well, you may be thinking at this point, well, that's how people get addicted to smoking. It makes them feel more energetic and stuff, and you're partially right. But there's another physiological reason. Scientists have evidence that nicotine stimulates the production of not only adrenaline, but also another chemical, dopamine. Levels of dopamine rise when you're doing something enjoyable, like eating your favorite food. So what happens is some researchers refer to it as a reinforcement or reward mechanism. Dopamine signals well-being. So when nicotine stimulates dopamine production, it's kind of like exciting your pleasure center. That's probably the source of the rush people associate with smoking, and why they keep reaching for more cigarettes to get that same feeling again after it passes. Wow, long one. Now, those are the most obvious direct effects, but nicotine alters body functions in other ways that are also significant. For instance, it decreases the amount of oxygen that gets to the brain, which can make you feel more relaxed. It also, at least in the short term, relaxes the stomach. In fact, some of you may know this, but nicotine used to be prescribed as medicine for these reasons. Doctors would tell people to use tobacco if they were nervous or anxious, because the nicotine calmed them down. Likewise, people with upset stomachs would be told to use nicotine because the relaxing effect on the stomach helped digestion. Now, the biggest problem, is that these are short-term effects, but as you continue to use nicotine a lot over a period of time, it has bad effects that aren't immediately obvious. Nicotine can cause stomach ulcers and make heart problems worse. You may get short-term relief, but you'll eventually be worse off. Okay. That was a long one, all right? But there you go. That's what you're going to hear, basically. Now, occasionally on the Toefl listening test, you will be able to repeat or hear part of the lecture again, specifically in order to answer a certain question. Okay, so you would hear this section again. Okay, I know from having taught this class before that the topic I'm about to cover has the potential to get people's blood boiling, so I'd like to start off by making something clear. I'm going to discuss the physical effects of tobacco on the body. This is not the place for a debate over social issues. Okay. Diana?
Yes.
The question is, what can be inferred about the professor?
I think it's letter C. She wants to avoid a controversial discussion.
Okay. I think that's a very good choice. However, let's make sure. You should at least, maybe you will spot the answer immediately, but as far as strategy, we should at least pay our respects to the other answers. Because one thing that Toefl often does in listening and reading, usually there's one really stupid answer. There's one, yeah, that's not very good answer, and there's two possible answers. This is very, very normal in the Toefl test, both listening and reading. So it's a good idea to take a quick look at least. She is not used to teaching students about the effects of tobacco. Okay, well that's kind of silly. That's a long inference, okay? And if we're inferring something in reading or listening, the inference, the jump in logic, the next step in logic is going to be one awfully short jump. It's going to be a tiny short step. This is a huge leap in logic. Okay, so when it comes to inference questions in TOEFL, there's no way this is going to be the answer. That's not even logical. She thinks the topic may be confusing. Same reason. D, she thinks the debate over tobacco is interesting. Again, all three of these other answers are huge leaps in logic, and they're not close enough. This C is the most obvious. Now, very good, Diana. You're totally correct. I'm not even going to throw this out to the class because it's in the reference of being an inference question. This is basically follows. This is not the place for a debate over social issues. Okay, that's directly related. Another thing. The reason you see this little headset here, some of the listening questions you will not see this question that I have highlighted in blue. You will only hear it. So the narrator will actually give this question. You would not be able to see this on the test. Maybe 1 out of every 5 or something. Okay, let's move on. Okay, Jose, this one's for you. Why is only a small amount of nicotine ingested in smoking? Please follow the instructions. Keep your eye out for this. There will be occasions on the listening exam when you will be asked to choose 2 answers. So that's 2 points. Okay. You have to get them both right to get the answer right. Jose.
Yes, teacher.
What do you think? Again.
I think B.
D as in dog? Or B as in boy?
It's boy. And C.
Okay, what was your first answer?
First, the body doesn't absorb nicotine easily.
B as in boy, okay.
B, yes.
The body does not absorb nicotine easily. Okay, and then you said C? Well, okay, let's look at all the answers. Let's see. Joseph, what do you think here?
I think it's B and C. B and C.
B as in boy.
Yes.
Laura, what is your answer? Answers. What are your answers? If I should speak grammatically correctly. Diana, I'm sorry, I think I just called you Laura. Diana, what is your idea?
I'm not sure, but maybe letter A is possible because the text say that I don't remember good, but only is 5% of tobacco.
Okay, 5% of tobacco, but that's right. But was it in the processing or in the plant itself.
I don't remember.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, and here is where taking notes is extremely important because they will be confusing details like 5%, etc. Da da da. So, in order to get this correct, you know, you need to pay special attention to when a professor is saying, is making 2 points about one area of the lecture. Whenever there's numbers involved, there's 2 different things. There are 2 points. There are 2 effects. You need to be writing these down in your notes. And by the way, you guys, if you came in a little later, you should have a pencil and paper in front of you so that you can make notes as we continue the class. Okay. Okay, so nicotine, blah, blah, blah. Get your body, it actually makes up a very small percent of the tobacco plant. Also, when you smoke tobacco, most of the nicotine burns away before you can even inhale it. All right. Which means the actual answers are, Jose. Jose,
Yes, teacher.
what are the real answers now that we
Really?
reviewed?
Yeah. In 2 questions, I think. B and C.
Are you saying B?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Okay, the real answer, C and D.
C and D.
And you have to get them both right to get the answer right. Okay. Actually, B is the classic Toefl answer. It's exactly the opposite. Exactly the opposite. Actually, it discusses how the body actually absorbs it very quickly. Nicotine inhaled to the lungs is absorbed almost completely. Okay. So it goes very quickly into your lungs, very quickly into your brain. So it's exactly the opposite. There's nothing whatsoever discussed about the processing of tobacco. So these are classic examples, both in listening and reading, of how they trick you. So be aware. You should be aware of this. These are the trap answers. This is classic Toefl right here. There's nothing in the listening. In the reading test, it's the same thing. It's not in there. It wasn't said, or in reading, it wasn't in the reading passage. Just doesn't exist in the information, or exactly the opposite of what happens. Okay, let's move on. Joseph? Why does nicotine affect the nervous system powerfully?
I think it's letter D.
You think it's letter D. Did you eliminate these other answers? Is there anything about the brain having a large surface area?
Yes. I don't remember.
Okay. You don't remember. Actually, there's nothing about that. Nicotine is similar in structure to hormones.
No, it doesn't say anything.
Doesn't say anything. I agree. Blood travels directly from the lungs to the brain.
No,
Okay.
no.
Well, okay, it does say this, but it says blood travels from the lungs to the brain. Okay, this is included in the information, but it's not the reason that it affects the nervous system powerfully. Okay, it's just a side kind of piece of information. Okay, it's not really relevant to the question. That's
What is
another classic TOEFL trick.
lung? Lung.
So what is what?
Lung. Lungs to the brain. Lungs or
Blood?
blood travels directly from the lungs to the brain.
Yes. What are you asking? The meaning of blood?
Lung. No, lungs. Lungs.
Lungs. Okay, you're breathing right now, aren't you?
Yes.
Are you breathing now, Joseph? That's good. That's good news. Keep doing it, Joseph. Don't stop breathing. Okay. As you breathe, where's the air go? As you breathe in, the air goes to your lungs. That is your internal organ where the air goes. If you hold your breath, you're holding air in your lungs.
Okay.
Okay. All right. The answer D is correct. Very good. That's right. That is why it affects the nervous system powerfully and quickly. Right. Very good. Well, it says quickly. So there's another clue for you. If you had no idea, here's another possible strategy. You can look for things like this. Quickly, powerfully, okay. Crosses, quickly, affect, powerfully. Look at verb and adverb combinations. Travels directly. Is that anything like affect powerfully? No, it's not. That doesn't really match. No, there is no adverb here. There is no adverb in B. So those don't match at all. Even the sentence structure itself can help you. Even if you have no memory of any of this, you don't remember, you didn't make good notes, whatever. This is another way you can help yourself figure out an answer sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. Okay. Diana, back to you. Number 4.
I
effect?
think is letter A. They feel more alert.
Okay. They feel more alert. Is this now? Okay. Well, do you know what adrenaline is already before the class? Did you know? I'm sorry. What's wrong with my English today? Did you know before the class about adrenaline, Diana?
Yes, I
Okay.
know that adrenaline. Yes, it's like an energy, give
Right.
energy in your body, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Sometimes what you know before you take the test can help you, which may make this obvious. But be careful of that because it has to be actually spoken in the test. Okay. Let me throw this out to the class. Jose, do you agree or disagree with Diana?
I not agree.
You agree? Okay. Joseph?
They say energetic. I think is letter A.
Is alert. Yeah, I think you're right. Right. Again, this is what TOEFL does. Alert, energetic, yes. Those words are synonymous. They're synonyms. So that is correct. Very good. Okay, Jose, how does dopamine contribute to cigarette addiction?
Um, I think letter A.
Makes people more energetic. It sends signals associated with pleasure. It decreases the amount of oxygen. It lowers heart and breathing rates. You think A. Okay, Joseph, what do you think?
I think it's letter B.
B. Okay, it sends signals associated with pleasure. Diana, what's your guess?
I agree. I think it's letter B.
Letter B. It is letter B. Okay. Two things. One, just like in the first part, they discuss two things about nicotine not getting in your body. Okay, not much in the plant, and most of it burns off. In the second part of the lecture, they discuss two. She actually introduces it. She says there are two hormones that are stimulated. Okay, one is adrenaline, the other is dopamine. All right, so as you're writing notes, you should definitely have written down adrenaline, energetic, dopamine, pleasure, and B is correct. Also, because in the structure of the lecture, she discusses the two different effects, it's highly unlikely they're going to have the same effect. Alert, energetic. All right? So one will do one thing and one will do another. You can also use logic if you didn't happen to catch the information. So, meaning to say, even though you may not have heard, there are many cases where you can deduce, you can use logic to figure out the answer. Joseph, last one of this section. Each section, each piece of listening is followed by 5 or 6 questions. So here's the last one. Joseph, what kinds of illnesses used to be treated with tobacco?
I think letter B.
B, anxiety. Mm-hmm.
Letter C.
B and C. Okay. Diana, do you agree?
Yes, I agree.
All right. Jose?
We agree to.
All right. We're unanimous then. Very good. Obviously, A and D are the problems. The illness is caused by tobacco, not used to be treated. So there you go. Okay. Very good. Everyone got that one. Okay. We're going to move on. Da-da-da. Next lecture, psychology. Ooh, okay. Very tricky. You might see this screen for a second. You might want to write down these words. Ooh, this is going to have some technical words in it. All right. Then you would see this screen and you would hear this. Listen very carefully.
Psychology class.
People have been trying to figure out the ways and extent to which our personalities are determined by our bodies since ancient times. But the personality typology, the categorization that you see used most frequently now, was developed by a psychologist in the 1940s. His name was William Sheldon, and what he did was study photographs of college-aged men, then interview them. He was trying to figure out whether body shape somehow indicated something about personality. So he started looking at the layers of the body. I know from experience that when I say layers of the body, only a few of you will really know what I'm talking about. So let me just explain quickly. The way a biologist divides the body into layers is according to how cells in each tissue are first formed when you're an embryo. There's one type of cell that turns into the skin and nervous system, including the brain and spinal cord and the rest of the nerves. Then you have another type of cell that turns into the muscles and bones. And there's a third kind that becomes the lining of the digestive system. So When biologists talk about the layers of the body, that's what they mean. The outermost is the skin and nervous system, the middle is the muscles, and the innermost is the stomach, basically. It's important to get that straight right from the beginning, because most people, well, isn't it natural to think of the bones as the innermost layer? So here's what Sheldon did. He categorized his subject's body types according to which biological layer was dominant, which was most highly developed. That gave him 3 separate categories with one for each layer. I'll write them down for you because they're kind of a mouthful. An ectomorphic body type is dominated by the skin and nerves of the outer layer. The muscles in the stomach are less emphasized, so you end up with a body that has relatively little muscle and fat. In other words, an ectomorphic body tends to be skinny. If you're ectomorphic, you may not be all that tall, but your body is narrow for your height. You can kind of get a sense of the connection Sheldon was trying to make to personality here, can't you? If you have little fat and muscles that don't develop easily, but on the other hand, your nerves are very active, very easily stimulated, well, it's kind of like you have little insulation against the world around you. That could make you feel sort of vulnerable. You might be more likely to like reading and writing, exercise for the mind rather than the body. And that's what Sheldon concluded. The ectomorphic body type is associated with people who do a lot of thinking but aren't physically very aggressive. The mesomorphic body type is the next one, and its focus is the next layer down. That was the muscles. A mesomorphic body has powerful, well-developed bones and muscles that are easy to strengthen through training and exercise. What kind of personality does that suggest to you? A body type in which the muscles take on strength easily, but the sensitive nervous system and the stomach are less dominant. It's the type of person who's physically active and takes a positive, kind of can-do approach to things. A mesomorphic person likes physical exercise and will tend to try to solve problems by getting into gear right away, rather than sitting back and thinking for a while about the best plan. The endomorphic body type is dominated by the very innermost layer of the body. That layer is, of course, the digestive tract, including the stomach. Endomorphs do tend to have rounder bodies and to go for not just food, but sensuality and enjoyment in general. They look for ways to fulfill their appetites, which is why I said a few minutes back that you could think of them as being oriented toward the stomach. Endomorphs tend to be jolly and outgoing and sociable, and they also tend to be less physically active. They like to sit back and enjoy life. They're laid back. Unlike mesomorphs, who are always ready for action, go, 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 endomorphs have a tendency to sit still and see what happens. But they don't overthink things the way ectomorphs do. So, Sheldon built this model and interviewed his subjects to see whether their personalities and bodies corresponded, and his conclusion was that they did. But the next obvious question is whether anyone else has been able to prove any of this, right? So, we'll talk about a few other studies scientists have done recently.
What is the lecture mainly about?
Okay. All right, guys. Okay. I hope you enjoyed that wonderful lecture. Clearly, there are 3 main points with underlying explanations. There they are. I'm showing it to you again, just to help you out. There they are. Okay. Think about what you are. Okay, the first question, as it almost always is, what is the lecture mainly about? I gave this to Diana last time, so I'll give it to Jose this time. Jose, what is the lecture mainly about?
Hey, teacher, I am lost in the dialogue.
You're lost.
But I think the letter A, the layers of the human body.
The layers of the human body. Let's see what your classmates think. Joseph, what do you think?
Letter B.
B as in boy.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Diana, what do you think?
I am between letter A or letter D.
And that's where you should be. You've all dismissed C and D. Very good. Okay, we're getting somewhere now. Use process of elimination to get rid of the more or less, well, stupid answers, shall I say. Okay. Although, okay, there is a clue here, and you should be torn between these two. That's very normal. I'm glad to hear it. Okay, the lecturer starts by saying that he's discussing ways of categorizing personality. He does talk about the layers of the human body, and he says, if you remember, he says, many people don't understand layers, so let me explain it. Okay, when he says that, he's saying, okay, I'm doing a sidebar. This is extra information. This isn't the main lecture. Many people might not understand this reference, so let me just take a minute to explain it. When you hear that in a lecture, that means this is not the main topic. This is side information to clarify what information you may need for the main topic. That being said, the answer is actually B. B is correct. A way of categorizing people's personality. Okay, that is the main idea. May I say also strategies for the Toefl test? If you are stuck between two answers, make sure you answer something. In the listening test, the test just keeps progressing on and on and on, and you can't go backwards. And it is very, very foolish indeed to leave blank answers. You are not penalized any more or less for having a wrong answer. It's the same as if you have no answer. So they're multiple choice. You might as well guess, and you have a 50-50 chance. So why not? Okay. Joseph, number 2. Okay. Okay. What do biologists use to divide the body into layers, Joseph?
The biologists use to divide the body into layers. I think the letter B.
The kind of activity with which the tissues are associated. Okay. What is your second choice? Just, I'm interested.
I think it's letter A.
A. The amount of fat in each type of tissue. Fat. Okay. Diana, what is your thinking here?
I lost, but I think maybe C or D.
C or D? The type of personality, kind of activity. Jose.
Teacher, I think
No idea.
the D.
D. Oh, you said D earlier. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All right. So we got A, C or D, D, and guess what? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the actual answer is B.
No.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. Okay. The idea in the very when he's discussing layers. Oh, first of all, another thing to note is number one question, what is it mainly about? All right. Well, that's the general summary. Then generally the question, not generally, then the questions are going to follow the chronological order of the lecture itself. Thus, if you have made good notes, they should also, your notes should be in the same order as the question, which should help you, if you have made good notes.
They say about embryos.
Embryos. Yes, they did, and that was the key, Joseph. The origins of different cells. When you're an embryo, before you even grow arms and legs, when you're just a little peanut in your mother's tummy, yeah, there are basically 3 different types of cells: those that grow into skin and nervous system, those that grow into muscle and bone, and those that grow into internal organs, digestive organs, like the stomach. That is right. That was the key, Joseph. You knew it. That's exactly right. You knew it. You just didn't extrapolate it. Okay. All right. Okay, then you will hear again a part of the lecture. So here it is. I'll listen to it again, and you have the advantage of seeing it. You would not see it on the actual test. So when biologists talk about the layers of the body, that's what they mean. The outermost is the skin and nervous system, the middle is the muscles, and the innermost is the stomach, basically. It's important to get that straight right from the beginning, because most people, well, isn't it natural to think of the bones as the innermost layer? What did the professor mean by this? Well, isn't it natural to think of the bones as the innermost layer? What did he mean by that, Diana?
Well, the model, well, mm, mm, I'm not sure. What is innermost? Innermost?
The most inside, the
Yeah.
deepest inside. Yeah, to turn around the suffix.
Maybe
Yeah.
letter C?
Okay. Let me try to clarify something. What did the professor mean by this? Why? This question means, why did the professor say this? This question could be posed exactly like this. It could be, why does the professor say, well, isn't it natural to think of the bones as the innermost layer? This is another type of listening question. Why does the professor say it? Or what did he mean by this? Does it help if I change the phrasing and say, why did the professor say this? Well, isn't it natural to think of bones as the innermost layer?
I think letter B.
B. Most people are familiar with the categories. Okay. Jose, what do you think?
I think the letter A.
The layers of the body do not include the bones. Okay.
Yeah.
They do.
Letter
Bones
C.
and
Letter
muscles.
C is better. I think it's letter C. Letter C.
See, scientists have recently changed their thinking. No, that doesn't. There's nothing about that, or maybe it's way later. Actually, you guys are overthinking this. It's quite simple. The mistake is understandable. It's natural to think something. It's very understandable to think that. That's all that means. It's a phrase in English that simply means, okay, these types of questions, why did the professor say this? What did the professor mean? Usually these questions aren't really about the specific material in the lecture. Usually these questions are about a type of English phrase. Isn't it natural to think? Okay. It's natural to think women are more emotional. Okay, it's normal. It's understandable. Okay. These types of questions are often more about English than about specific material. All right, this has nothing to do with the material. The professor says that to make the students feel better about assuming something that seems quite natural and quite obvious, understandable. That's all. That's it. Okay. Welcome to the class, Pablo. Hello. How are you?
Hello.
Pablo, you just entered? It's a little late. We're answering questions that are related to a long listening lecture that we already heard. You didn't hear the lecture, did you?
Almost.
No? Okay. Which will make it very hard for you to answer the question. Okay. Actually, totally impossible. All right, let's take a look at this one. Whose turn is it here? I forgot. I forgot whose turn it is. Joseph, what do you think? Which of the following are characteristics of an ectomorphic body? Do you remember which one is ecto?
Yes, yes.
What do you think? Want to guess? Do you remember which one was ecto? Which one was?
Yes, yes. It was the first, the first.
Yes, it was. Very good. You're right.
Muscle, strong, lack of fat.
Lack of fat?
No, 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 no. No.
Why? Make sure you see this, Joseph. 2 answers.
Okay, okay, okay. Lack of fat and low muscle development.
And low muscle development. Okay, Diana, what do you think? Do you agree or disagree?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, Jose, are you with the group?
Lack of fat. No.
Do you agree?
I think B and D.
B and D. B and D was the middle one, the mesomorphic. So Joseph and Diana are correct. Jose, you're thinking about the second one, right? Again, all of these, all of these lectures are very, very similar in structure, in that they're gonna. Okay, let's talk about the 3 layers. Okay, the 3 layers are, what are they? They equal to ecto, meso, and endomorphic. Okay, ecto is, all right, skinny, mesomorphic, muscular, and endomorphic, fat, stomach. That's it. Basically, if you could draw that outline with those few words, if you could make those notes as you listen, you could answer every one of these questions. You do not have to know really, really specific, but the different parts, okay? When they say there's 2 things, there's 3 things, then those 2 or 3 things are most certainly going to come up in the questions. Okay, Diana, what will the professor discuss next? Here's the tough one, yeah.
Studies that have taste Sheldon's theory.
Ooh, okay. Jose, do you agree?
Yes, yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Joseph, you good with that? Da, 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 da. Actually, we've only got a couple minutes, so yeah, that's correct. This is the question, actually, I confess that I usually get wrong. There is often a question. Okay, here's why I get it wrong, so don't make my mistake. As you're listening to the lecture, once I have collected all my notes and I know exactly what the questions are going to be, I just told you what my notes would be. I forget to listen to that last little part where he says, next time we will discuss, or The very, very end, the last one or two sentences, sometimes there's a question about that in TOEFL. Don't stop listening because you think you understand everything in the lecture. I make this mistake, so don't make my mistake. Listen to the very end and realize that many times there's a question about the last thing the professor says, even though it really has almost nothing to do with the lecture. Good job, Diana.
Thanks.
Okay, very good. One more. Ooh, a chart. Based on the information in the lecture indicate whether the following characteristics of the mesomorphic or endomorphic personality type. Okay. Is it endo, ecto? Okay, ecto's the first one, right? Yeah, ecto's the first one. We had this here. Okay, so meso and endo. Okay, let's see if we can categorize all of these. Jose seeks ways to fulfill appetites. Meso or endo?
Endomorphic.
Jose?
It's endo.
Endo. Okay, Joseph, thank you. Pablo, I'm sorry I'm not asking you questions, but it's actually completely impossible if you didn't hear the lecture. I don't know how you could guess. Diana. Friendly and outgoing.
Meso.
No. Actually, that was endo.
Yeah.
Jose.
Yes, teacher.
Reacts to situations physically, meso or endo?
Meso.
Yes, that's the muscles and bones. Very good. Joseph, physically inactive.
It's endo.
Endo. Yes. Correct. And last, Diana, attacks problems without planning.
Meso.
Meso, that's the muscle. He jumps in. Right. Very good. Okay. So endo, meso. That's it. Okay, this is another type of question which we haven't even looked at up to now, where you have to categorize information. You'll see this when there's a lot of details involved with categories of things. Many of these lectures are going to deal with categories of things, 2 or 3. Yes, go ahead.
At the end, there is always a question like that. At the end, or not.
At the end of each lecture, no.
But you can have one
or two.
You can have.
Yeah.
Or...
There may be 1 or 2 on the test, on the whole test. These are rare, a much more rare type of question. Of course, these. Ooh. I was going to say that you only see these in lectures, but actually I have seen this at least once before in the conversation part. So it is possible for either part. Generally more in the lecture part. So again, even when it's the conversation, you're breaking the conversation into parts. The woman gives 2 reasons why the man should get a part-time job. What are the reasons and why? Okay, reason 1, he can have money to enjoy his life. He can get a girlfriend and date her. Okay, reason 1, detail. Reason 2, detail. That's in conversations. In lectures, it's much more actual. Obviously, it's obviously more academic. It's more easily categorized. All right, 3 different layers. Okay, 3 different scientific terms: ecto, meso, endo. 3 different symptoms or results, personality types. All right, so really categorizing things: 1, 2, 3. Think of those numbers, because not only in the listening test, In this first part of the writing test, you're dealing same type of thing. In the speaking test, in the integrated tasks, exactly the same. They're all the same. They're all the dialogue with conversation. They're going to be talking about two main points. The lecture, they're going to have two or three main points, and they're going to add information to those points. So that's what you have to be listening for, and always make notes. I could not do this test, no way, no how, without making notes. It would be totally impossible. Okay, I am definitely overtime. I have to go because I have another one-on-one class I have to get to. I'm already late. Oh my gosh. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Bye bye,
Bye.
teacher.
Learned something.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.